Hello, welcome to the AI Copy Fix. So what I'm going to be taking you through in the next 20 minutes or so is I'm going to show you how to build an AI copywriter that actually writes like you. So before we dig in, my name's Kathy. Hi, I am a copywriter, I'm an AI strategist, and I'm the chief translator of "this doesn't sound like me" into "holy crap, did I write this?" And the answer is no, AI did it for you. So really briefly about me. I've been working as a copywriter since 2019. Before that, I was a web designer. Before that, graphic designer. Before that, I used to code Word templates. So I've been actually self-employed for well over 10 years now. With my copywriting projects, I was working directly with client projects, so 6 and 7 figure business owners, normally coaches, and in the online space. And I was also coaching. I was helping businesses who were a bit smaller, who didn't have the resources to outsource to someone like me, helping them learn how to write better copy and how to apply it into their business. So when AI came on the scene, I jumped straight in because I saw this as a brilliant opportunity to really help you be more efficient, to write better copy, and to solve a lot of the problems that I saw with people when I was when I was coaching them. And it's turned out how I thought it would be. AI is amazing, and it allows me to help you to be more efficient. So what we're going to be talking about is writing faster, sounding better, and making AI stop being weird. So just to give an idea of who this training is good for, so you can just make sure you're in the right place. So if you've got a small team, this is really going to help you, because right now you're probably spending too much time editing the team content because it doesn't sound like you, or sending it back for review or rewrites and stuff like that. And so it might feel like AI is not actually making things more efficient. Maybe there's people on your team who avoid writing anything that's customer facing because they're scared of getting it wrong or of being too off brand. Now, whether you're using AI for this or whether you're getting them to write it from scratch, this has always been a problem around voice. When you get someone else to do content for you, we come up against this problem of voice over and over again. I'm going to show you how to solve that problem today. And because of this problem of people being worried about not sounding right or you spending too much time rewriting it yourself, a lot of your important content is falling through the cracks. You've all got ideas, you know what you want to say, and you need to get it out there. Maybe you're a solopreneur or a freelancer. So you've probably got more ideas than there are hours in the day. And you've probably got half-written stuff in Google Docs, stuff all over the place, half-baked ideas on your phone, wherever you put it. And if you had a way of getting all those ideas out of where they are and in front of your audience, that's going to make a massive difference to the bottom line of your business. Spending all your time writing sales pages, posts, emails, all of that stuff, it feels like a full-time job on top of your actual job. Then I'm going to show you how to get AI to help you with this and get that time back for you. And maybe you have outsourced in the past. I've speak to a lot of people who have been in this scenario. They've paid money, asked someone to write it for them. It came back and it was like, oh, this doesn't sound like me. And so you've ended up rewriting the whole thing yourself. You might have been trying AI and experiencing the same problem and feeling like there's just no way that anyone can do this apart from you. And what I want to say to you is that it is possible, and I'm going to show you how. So here's what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you a very simple and strategic approach to AI so that you can create content without needing perfect prompt or worrying about prompt engineering. It's actually fairly straightforward, and the system I've developed is just based on my knowledge of writing copy for other people as a copywriter. So I'm training AI the way I would train a junior copywriter, and I'm giving it a brief the way that I would ask a client to give me a brief. By the end of this process, you're going to finally trust the content coming out of your AI tool. I'm not saying that anything's ever going to be a straight copy paste. I always recommend that you do some sort of final editing. Always keep your voice in there, keep your influence in it, but it's going to come out 80 to 90% done. And that's because it's based on your voice, your messaging, and your strategy. And I'm going to show you how you can build a system that helps you and your team, if you've got a team, to create high quality and on-brand content without you needing to reinvent the wheel every time. So why does most AI copy sound so awful? I just want to briefly help you understand the wrong way to go about it so it becomes clearer why the right way is going to work. AI mimics patterns. So it's not just going out there, finding something that someone else has written, grabbing it, and then giving it to you. It is constantly making the best guess that it can based on the information it has to hand, and it is doing that a letter at a time and a word at a time. So it mimics patterns. And so what we want to do is to give it the right information for it to mimic what you want it to say within an ecosystem that you're creating. Most people are not giving the AI tools enough to work with. And if that's you, I'm going to show you what you need to do instead. You might have heard the people saying things like garbage in, garbage out. It's only part of it. You also just need to give it proper information. Otherwise, coming back to this, it will make a guess. It will make its best guess based on what you've given it. But if you haven't given it enough information, then that best guess isn't going to be great. It's a bit like when I work with clients, if they don't have examples of how their voice is, how they want to sound, if I don't understand their business, if I don't understand their offers, if I don't understand their audience, all the pieces of their business, then again, like AI, I will make the best guess based on my experience and what I know. But the more information they give me as a human copywriter, the better a job I can do. And AI is no different. And the other problem that I'm seeing people doing that means that AI copy comes out sounding really generic is that they're relying on vague prompts. So things like sound more professional, be more quirky, or whatever it is. And again, coming back to this, AI will make its best guess. It's going to go out there and see, what do you mean by professional? And then start creating something in response to that. But you need to tell it exactly what it is that you mean. And I'm going to share a really simple way that you can do this. So you don't have to rely on these vague prompts. You can give it very specific feedback in a way that's going to help it to train itself to get better and better writing for you. So here's the fix. This is the 4-part framework I'm going to take you through, that if you apply this, you're going to get much better outputs from your AI. So the first is voice inputs, letting it know how it is that you want it to sound, what you mean by your voice, what your writing is. You then want to give it audience inputs. So in copywriting land, we call this voice of customer research. This is something that you shouldn't skip if you're writing for a client. And this is something that you shouldn't skip if you're getting your AI to write for you. You also need to give it offer inputs. So it's not psychic. It seems like it sometimes, because again, it will make its best guess. It's never going to turn around and say, I don't know. It will just give you something. So if you're not clear on what your offers are and you don't upload that to your tool, then it's not going to have a very clear idea of what your offer is, which means as a result, the outputs are going to be quite generic and surface level. So the more detail that you give it, the better a job it can do. And then we also want to give it strategy-driven frameworks. And so coming back to my experience as a copywriter, voice, audience, and offer inputs is stuff that I need from my clients in order to be able to do a decent job for them. The strategy-driven frameworks are part of what I would bring to the work. And that's because good copy and content does tend to follow frameworks. There are best practices. And so to build an AI copywriter that does a good job for you, we need all these pieces. And so as the client, that's you. You need to bring all of this to the party so your AI tool can do a good job for you. And then I'm going to show you from the copywriter's side what some of these frameworks might look like. Once AI has these 4 things, it writes like magic. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of it, of how to train AI without worrying about all this prompt engineering. Because once you do it as this system that I'm going to lay out to you, the prompts don't really matter because you've given it everything it needs already. And then it's just a matter of brainstorming and bouncing ideas off it. Let's talk about which tool is best briefly. What I'm going to do is go through both of them for you. We'll start by saying that ideally you want the paid plan. You don't need both. You can pick one or the other. It is worth paying the $20 a month to have the paid plan. Saying that, I do work with clients who work with the free plan and enough for them. Generally is a better writer. It writes more naturally out of the box before you've done too much training. The project feature that I'm going to share with you works really well in Claude. It's very good at taking what you've uploaded, reading it, and using it. ChatGPT can be a little bit hit and miss, and you sometimes need to remind it exactly of what it is that you're referencing. The differences aren't massive anymore. I've been finding ChatGPT's voice has been a lot better over the last few months. Part of it's probably been because I've been training it, because I've been using it so much, but I just think also something's gone on behind the scenes and it's doing a better job of writing than it used to. The main difference, and this is kind of a deal breaker for me at the moment, is that even with the paid plan on Claude, you do hit up against the limits quite quickly. which is really frustrating. So if you're paying for a tool, you want to be able to use it. And I've found that you can use it for a bit and then it's like, okay, in 3 hours, just when you're kind of stride. ChatGPT on the paid plan, I don't hit those limits. I use it a lot. I use it every day. I use it for all sorts of things. And in my experience, I'm able to use it without worrying about hitting those limits. So for that reason, I have been using ChatGPT more, but I do have both and I do use them both depending on what I'm working on. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to take you through the process. I'm going to show you it on Claude and I'll show you it on ChatGPT. It'll be a little bit repetitive because it is the same idea, but I just want to show you that you can use it across whichever platform that you want. By that kind of showing you, it will help you to understand the methodology of why it works, which I think is the important piece here. This isn't a prescriptive, here's your prompt, follow this exactly. This is more about helping you to understand how the systems work so that you can make them yourself. And the way I'm going to be doing this is through a fictional business that I've set up called Tax Therapy. And I've created a brand voice for it. I've created offers for it. So let's start with Claude. Okay, so when you're in Claude, when you've got the paid version, this is why it's kind of so important, it gives you access to this projects feature. And so I've created a project here for the fictional tax therapy business. And so the way this layout works, if this is the first time you've seen it, is that here on the right-hand side, we've got the project knowledge base. And so this is where you can upload the information, the specifics, the business of your voice, of things like that. And so that's always there for you, or for Claude, to draw upon when you're asking it to write for you. Here on the left, these are the chats where you put the prompts in, asking Claude to write something for you. And over here, we also have a instructions, which is, I use this as another place for where we can tell Claude language you want it to avoid, how you pay spelling, emojis, all that kind of stuff. So just general voice stuff to how you want it to write. Now, what I have found with Claude, and this is why I really do love Claude, so it's a shame that it doesn't give you unlimited use, is that it does really listen and pay attention to this. So for example, I have been using it for a long time and I was like, I don't want emojis, I want UK English spelling, I don't want any of these phrases. And I'm adding to this all the time as more and more phrases pop out at me that it's sort of a tell for AI. And Claude pays attention, so I don't have to keep reminding it. Occasionally it slips up, but I feel like it's more if I've not used it for a while. What I found with chat, although it's got a similar, it doesn't always listen. It doesn't always pay attention as much. However, it's still pretty good and it's not the end of the world to just do a little reminder and say, using UK spelling or self of the rules and don't use any of those phrases or something like that. And this is what I mean by the prompts don't have to be prescriptive. You can just talk to it. You're just putting in and sort of saying what you want to say to get it to do what you want it to do. Okay, so let's look at how ChatGPT is set up. So if you see here on the left, we've got the same functionality, is that you can create a project. So I've created a project here for the tax therapy business, and it's very similar to how Claude works. So the project files is the same here as the project knowledge base. The instructions here are the same as the project, the instructions here. And then where Claude here on the left, this is where you write your prompts. Here is where you have the chats and then chat saves them down here. So as you can see, they work very similarly. As an aside, chat's also got the option to create custom GPTs, which is a whole other thing that I'm not going to be covering today, but they are powerful that allow you to create workflows and automations and get things done more quickly. But for the sake of focusing on what we're focusing on today, which is all about voice, looking here in the projects section. Okay, so coming back to the core components I was talking about, remember, voice inputs, audience inputs, offer inputs, strategy-driven frameworks. So let's start with the voice inputs. So one of the first things that you want to do is find examples of what I call core content. So these are examples of stuff that you've written that you're happy with how it sounds, or it might be an email that got lots of traction with your audience, or it might be social media content that always gets lots of engagement. But what you want to do is pull this together and then put it into the project knowledge base, either here in Claude. As you can see, I've got the same document here in chat. So this is how you let your AI tool understand what your voice is. Essentially, the next step then is to just ask to do a brand voice analysis, and then you can take that brand voice analysis and also upload it to the project knowledge base. I've called it brand voice summary over here. So these two pieces here, this is you training AI tool to understand what you mean by your voice. It's show, not tell. There's no point just saying, I want it to sound quirky. I want it to sound professional. I want it to have humor. Fine. It's going to guess, it's going to give you something and you're not going to like it. But put the time in now, those foundational pieces, to give it stuff that you have written and that you're happy with. And then it knows exactly what you mean when you say, write in my voice. Okay, and here's that brand voice summary prompt. So I will start with this recording. So once you've uploaded the examples of your voice to the project knowledge base, then put this prompt here in the left on the chat, or in the chat, ask it to analyze your voice, and then the output is what you upload back into the knowledge base. Now, the other piece that you'll, again, this is training it on your voice, is brand stories. So you've probably got these already, or if not, you want to take some time to some, and again, write these yourself. Think about just, you're doing the foundational stuff. There's no point training AI on copy or content that's been written by AI. So then you are just going to get in a loop of it sort of sounding generic because you're asking it to write how it already writes. So any stories you've already written, it could have them on your website, content you've written in the past, but this is like why you started your business, stories about the reason that you created a particular offer, for example, anything about your values that you feel is important for it to know, anything about your background. And we want to upload that to your project knowledge base as well. So you can see here it is in, and here it is in ChatGPT. So a little summary here for you, right? For the voice input. So part one is your voice inputs, and that's split into three things: core content, brand voice summary, and your brand stories. And then we can move on to the audience inputs. So in essence, what this is what I was mentioning before, which is called voice of customer research. So before I'd start any project for a client, I would do this. I would go back to any videos that they recorded, any calls. If needed, I would ask my client, can you go and do like a call with like 4 of your clients? And I have a set of questions that I would like them to ask them. My clients that come to me for coaching, I do the same thing. It's like, do this piece, spend the time speaking to people who've worked with you or who want to work with you, record those calls, transcribe them, and we're going to be pulling out all the messaging gold that is in there, because the language that people use when they're talking about problems that they've got or the solutions that they're looking for or how they're feeling or how they want to feel, when people talk, they say it in a certain way. And that's the language we want to get. So again, we're thinking foundational here. How can we get that language into your tool so that when it's pulling its ideas, it's pulling it from all this stuff you've given it, so that it's not going to be relying on cliches or generic stuff that's out there on the internet. It's taking these pieces that you've given it. You can see this is just broken up into fears, testimonials, objections, and dream outcomes. And the same idea here in chat, I've uploaded it into the project file. So I'm just going back and forth between these two tools just so you can see that it's the same, no matter which one you want to use. And the next piece is customer personas. So once you've got your messaging matrix, which is again all that language from your people in your audience, from real life people, their words, then we can use the AI to start getting a breakdown of different personas. You might have this information already, in which case great, but if you don't, this is a piece that yes, you can use AI to help you start on what you've got. So this is the prompt that you would put in for that, and then the output it gives you, you paste back into your project knowledge base. And so you can see I've got it here. So here now I've got my customer personas, and I also have uploaded it here to chat. Okay, and so in summary, this is the part 2. We've got our audience input, and that is made up of your messaging matrix and your customer personas. Part 3 is our offer inputs. Now, depending on where you're at, you might have a new offer that you want to create, or you might have existing offers that you can put in there. So let's just look at a couple of scenarios. So let's say that you've got a new offer, or you want to put a new offer out there. This is where now you can really start harnessing the power of your AI tool, because remember, we have trained it in your voice and in your audience. And the easiest way to do this is to follow a copywriting brief. You answer questions about your offer. Then you add in a sales page framework, into your AI tool. And then you can get your AI copywriter to write the sales page for you. So if we look at how that might Claude, so you can see here I've uploaded a framework for the sales page for my one-to-one. So this is step by step, just saying, this is what I want you to fill out. And now I've tried to, you can try it yourself. If you say, can you write me a sales page for this offer? It will try again, it will try and do a good job for you, but it's not necessarily going to be following best practices. So that's why you always want a framework for it to follow. And then here is your prompt on the left, which is fill out the framework one-to-one sales page. So that's the reference. We're saying, right, fill out the thing in the project knowledge base. Use this information. And then I just answer a few questions. It's like a copywriting brief. So again, I'm treating my AI tool as if it was me. Like, what do I need from a client to be able to write a sales page? I need my framework that I'm going to fill out, and then I need this information from them. So the name of the offer, who it's for, an idea of what the big transformation can be, what the features are, the price, and any bonuses. So you can see it's not loads of information. The whole point is you don't have to give it too much information because it's going to generate that for you. Then for sales pages, I generally ask it to give me 5 versions of the headline and the subheadline, just because headlines, you want to see a few to play with it. You can always go back and forth and ask for more anyway. And then what I also upload is a headline templates framework that I've created, that it's got proven frameworks that I want it to pull from, not just going out there and just like making a best guess from the internet. And now I'm asking it to pull in some ideas and language from the messaging matrix. So this is where it's going to start writing using my audience's language. Again, not generic language, specific. It's going to pull in any testimonials that I've got in there, my customer personas, right, using my brand voice, and pay attention to the words and phrases to avoid in the custom instructions. So can you see now that this prompt isn't complicated? It's basically just a brief. It's saying, take this thing I've given you. Here's the brand voice. Make sure you reference that. Here's some templates for the headlines. Make sure you use them. This kind of idea is how this works. So you're giving it the stuff, and then the prompts just kind of themselves, really. So then it did that. It created this sales page for me following the pieces that I've asked it to. And if I open up here, you can see here on the right-hand side that it's written this sales page for me following my framework. Now, when I said that Claude is better at following stuff in the project knowledge base than chat, what would happen is doing this same process in ChatGPT, it doesn't always exactly follow the framework, even if you upload it to the project files. The workaround's quite easy. You just paste it directly into the chat. It will follow it that way. Claude's just a bit neater because it works better this way. Then I just want you to know, then you can read it and interact with it back and forth until you get it how you want. So it's not about this sales page coming out and being like 100% ready to go. There's still going to be some tweaks that you need to do, but this is such a great first draft. We can get specific about what we want in and out of it, and then we end up with the final sales page that I'm happy with. And I think it updated this as I went along. Now then, once this is done, once this sales page is written, make sure now I've got my sales page in here for the offer. Okay. If you already have an existing offer, you just upload those offer details straight to your AI copywriter. So the end result is the same. So now we've layered it on. We've got the voice stuff. We've got your audience information. We've got details of the offer. All those pieces are in there. And then it's about the frameworks. So obviously I've already covered this a little bit because we used a framework to get it to write a sales page. But the logic follows going forward with no matter what you're writing. So for the sales page, give it the specific framework. So if it was a group program, I would give it a different sales page framework to follow, for example. So instead of saying, write me an email sequence, give it a framework to follow. So for example, you can have a welcome sequence framework that you upload to it. It will follow it. There's a best practice involved. It'll pull all the pieces out and it will just write many emails you ask it to write. So I generally have like a 6-part welcome sequence. I give it the framework, prompt, really similar to what I just showed you. And then it will just write the email sequence, and then you can interact back and forth until you're happy with it. So here's just a visual for you to see. This is the kind of thing when I talk about a framework, it's just in a Google document, but you can just see step by step within the framework itself. We're giving the instruction of what you want it to write under each headline and what each piece is. This works with like as well for social media. So this is like a content framework. So I've got loads of these in Copywriter in Your Pocket. This is what we upload into the project knowledge base. We're giving it a little bit of an explanation of what the framework is. Then this is the framework itself, step by step. And then I do give you some prompts that you could just copy, paste, and fill in. Okay, so let's just recap one more time. Creating this system is about these 4 pieces. Voice inputs, which remember is your examples of your brand, an analysis of your brand voice and any brand stories. Audience inputs is your messaging matrix, and then from there you can create your customer personas. Your offer inputs, these start kind of bleeding into each other, but you can use like its page framework to create your new offer, but then make sure you've got the sales page uploaded into the project knowledge base, because that's how it knows what you're talking about. Then the strategy-driven frameworks. So it's about giving it frameworks that follow best practice. So once it's set up, you're going to be creating your content so much faster. You're going to be getting way better results because it's aligned with your voice. It's conversion focused because of the frameworks, which means better results in your business. So more signups and more sales. Also because you're more visible, you're showing up more often. The content that sounds like you, having to do endless rewrites, you just generally need to do a bit of input at the end. And if you've got a team, they can write your content without breaking your brand. So I really hope you enjoyed this presentation and found it useful. If you'd like to stay in touch with me, I'd love to invite you to come along to my free Facebook group. It's called Words That Sell Using AI. There's a bit.ly link there that you can follow, bit.ly/words that sell group. And in there, I share other regular trainings, helping you with your messaging, with conversion-focused copywriting, all with a flavor of AI and helping you to understand how to get AI to be a real asset in your business, so that essentially it becomes like having a copywriter in your pocket. Thanks again.